Herkese merhaba, Vegan diye bir kanalına hoş geldiniz. İsmim Mine. Eğer bu kanala ilk defa denk geldiyseniz, bu videoyu ve diğer içerikleri beğenirseniz kanala abone olmayı, beğenmeyi ve yorum bırakmayı unutmayın. Birazdan izleyeceğiniz Zoom röportajı Kanada'da EXCELSIOR 4 yani EXCELSIOR dörtlüsü olarak bilinen 4 hayvan aktivistinin bugüne kadar devam eden dava sürecini anlatan bir röportaj. 2019 yılının bahar aylarında PETA tarafından kimin çektiği bilinmeyen bir hayvan istismar videosu yayınlandı. Bu videoda EXCELSIOR domuz çiftliğinde hayvanlara yapılan kötü muamele görünüyordu. Pislik içinde yatan hayvanlar, açlıktan birbirlerini yiyenler, kanlar içinde acı çekerek ölümü bekleyen domuzlar ve yavruları. Bu video sonrasında Kanadalı hayvan aktivistleri çiftliğin önünde toplanarak yaklaşık 200 kişiyle bir eylem gerçekleştirdi. Eylemciler çiftliğin içerisine girerek canlı yayın yapmak ve video çekmek istediğinde çiftlik sahipleri buna izin vermedi. Ancak bir kısmı girmeyi başardı. Daha sonra polis geldiğinde ise aktivistler medyanın buraya gelmesini ve içeride şu an yaşanan sefaleti ve korkunç durumu çekmesini istediklerini söylediler. Ve bu sırada yaklaşık 50 kadar aktivist tutuklandı. Birçoğu hakkındaki suçlamalar düştü, davalar kapandı, hatta dava açılmadı bile. Ancak 4 tanesine süreç içerisinde çiftlik tarafından 21 ağır suçtan dava açıldı. 2019 yılında başlayan bu süreç 27 Haziran pazartesi yani yarın ilk duruşmayla başlıyor. Dava bu duruma nasıl geldi? Bu dörtlü neyle suçlanıyor ve neden suçlanıyor? Bu süreçte neler oldu? İşte şimdi bu videoda Emi Sorano, Roy Sassano ve Nick Sheffer tarafından dinleyeceğiz. Videonun alt kısmına bahsi geçen eylem ve bununla ilgili videolar, hayvanlarla ilgili tetikleyici içerik içeren görüntüler, bütün kaynakları EXCELSIOR dörtlüsünün web sitesine ve sosyal medya hesaplarına bırakıyorum. Süreci takip etmek isterseniz, bilgi almak isterseniz hepsini takipte kalabilirsiniz. Şimdiden iyi seyirler. Hello everyone, welcome to Vegan diye bir YouTube channel. Today I have some special guests from other side of the world, from Canada. Emi Sorano, Nick Sheffer and Roy Sassano, known as EXCELSIOR 4. They are now facing 21 indictable offenses, which is the highest level of crime in Canadian court. So welcome everyone. Thanks for meeting me here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
In spring of 2019, a footage taken from inside EXCELSIOR hog farm and released by PETA. After that, the 4 of you, actually now remaining 3 of you, we're going to explain it later in the video. You are facing 21 indictable charges in Canadian court, and your first trial is going to start in 27th of June. So what happened in the beginning, in 2019?
It's complicated. It's a huge story. But basically, this footage was released by PETA, and it was horrific. It showed criminal neglect of animals inside EXCELSIOR hog farm. And it became a major news story because these treatment of animals was just really, really shocking to people. And I think a lot of people assume that the farms in your local community are these beautiful, wonderful places for animals. And especially EXCELSIOR hog farm, it's regarded by the industry as one of the best farms. Yet there were pens full of pigs with hernias, gashes, bloody wounds. Some pigs couldn't walk, so they were left to just slowly die and languish on a filthy, disgusting floor. There were dead pigs rotting in pens with other live pigs who were eating their bodies. Just tons of atrocious footage like that. There were dumpsters full of dead pigs and bloody pigs. Horrific things. And shortly after that video was released, a Meet the Victims action took place at this farm, sort of in response to that footage. People were outraged and wanted to do something and wanted to show the public what was happening and really bring attention to that farm. The 3 of us, plus around almost 200 other activists, took action, went to that farm. About 65 activists attempted to get inside one of the barns, and 50 successfully did manage to get inside. And the rest stood outside on public property and staged a protest. And we stayed there live streaming inside the farm for, I think, around 7 or 8 hours. And we said that we would leave as soon as mainstream media was allowed inside to tour the facility. Because so often this footage is sent to the media, but it doesn't get published. But if the media goes in themselves and obtains this footage, they will likely do a story. And we knew that. So we were really, really pushing for media to go inside and also experience this for themselves, which would compel them to write a story. So after about 7 hours, they did agree, and they let news cameras inside to tour. Go ahead, Roy.
I will say that they agreed very, very early in that process. It did take many hours for the farmers and the vets to clean up and do whatever, and for the police to finish up whatever paperwork they needed to do in order to facilitate the whole thing. But yeah, it was very early on where Amy and the police and the farmers agreed to this tour, which is amazing news for us, I have to say, when we heard that, because we weren't sure if they would ever agree to that, but they did.
Yeah, so the farmer, to our surprise, the farmer agreed right away and seemed very proud of his farm. He's like, yeah, let's let the media inside to tour. But they did want to clean up. So they were running around the farm, trying to tidy up, trying to clean up. And they did block media cameras from going in certain areas, including the area that the protesters were in. Pregnant mother pigs who were confined in gestation crates. So these metal steel bars, basically wrapping their bodies. It's a crate the size of their own bodies where they can only take one step forward or backwards. They can never turn around. It's really, really horrific. And yeah, there was hundreds of mother pigs just in this one room, inside this one barn. It's just these massive, massive factories. Yeah, so that's the Meet the Victims action. Does anyone, yeah, go for it, right?
Because we've been talking about this a little bit more lately, I think we should talk about that sign. During the media tour, as the cameras were walking through the office of the farm, you could see a sign that was above the door that goes to the barn. And it says, "What happens in the barn stays in the barn." And for people who might not be native English speakers, that's kind of a joking way of saying, don't talk about the secrets we keep in here. Don't talk about what we do here, right? But it was funny. I'm sure they put it up there just as a joke, but at the same time, the industries like this do keep everything a secret. So it was very true, and we thought that was really interesting, and we'd like to point that out.
Well, and the whole reason activists even go in to obtain footage or do actions like Meet the Victims is because this is an industry that relies on secrecy. There is zero transparency within animal agriculture. So that sign says it all.
Killing these animals, slaughtering these animals are absolutely legal thing to do all over the world. Unfortunately, we can't just go on the street or go on court and say that they are killing these animals. They are eating these animals. This is not something we can do. But what they do and what has released in these videos are quite illegal.
What we should maybe just to clear things up, because 21 offenses is a lot of charges.
So many people were there, hundreds of people, Meet the Victims action. Why 4 of you are facing 21 indictable charges?
So at the end of the Meet the Victims action, everyone inside, so all 50 inside, were arrested. However, I was the only one taken into custody. I was taken into a police vehicle, processed at the police station because I was the person who did all the communications with the police that day. They assumed I was the organizer. They sort of wanted to pinpoint me and press charges against me. Throughout this whole process, that launched a huge police investigation because they realized that a month prior to Meet the Victims, there was a file with the police where that farmer had found hidden cameras on their property and called the cops. So they realized, oh, there was something else happening at that farm where people were trying to obtain footage. And so they launched this huge, huge process. And in that process, they arrested Nick, they arrested Roy, they arrested Jeff. So it wasn't just myself. They arrested the 3 guys as well. And everyone else who was inside the farm at Meet the Victims, they weren't prosecuted further. So their charges have been dropped. So now it was just the remaining 4 of us. That's why we're called the Excelsior 4. They're alleging that we are responsible for the previous footage. They're alleging that we broke and enter many, many more times than just the day of Meet the Victims. So they have to prove that in court. And we haven't got to trial yet. So
Nick and I were, at the time of the arrest, Nick and I were in the barn with Amy. So we were arrested along with the other, 48 people. And that's all it was at that point. There's nothing else happening other than, the three of us were arrested, and they're looking like they maybe wanted to charge Amy. But after all this investigation, they decided that me, Nick, and Jeff, kind of for different reasons, but me and Nick were involved in more than just this. That's what they think happened. And that's why the four of us ultimately were charged, because they thought the four of us were involved in more than just what they saw on April 28th. And they didn't think anybody else was, so they didn't charge anyone else.
During this process, since 2019, spring of 2019, you are facing so many indictable charges, and there were some pre-trials, I guess. Some charges were dropped and the new ones has come. And in final today, they are asking for 10 years of jail for each of you. Is it correct? No.
10 years per charge.
Yeah, so
For
each charge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
Together, that's 5 charges for Amy currently, 5 charges for me currently, and 4 for you, Roy.
Just to clarify, we started off 21 charges, all indictable each, with a maximum of 10 years. That's not necessarily what they're asking for. They want us in jail, but I don't think they'll ask for the maximum. Although this trial is full of surprises, so who knows? So they started off at 21. They dropped three charges, all just charges. So then it got us down to 18, and just today they dropped 4 more. So, we'll see. Maybe every week we'll see a couple more charges disappear as we bring more evidence.
But in any way, for 10 years per charge is still quite a lot. Since 2019, as far as I understand from your website, nothing has happened to this farm. Is it correct? Nothing has happened. There was no charge against their animal abuse. What is important is that so many people has faced quite difficult situations, 4 of you, the most maybe, but in meantime, nothing happened to this farm.
Upon the release of the initial PETA video, PETA filed an animal cruelty report with our SPCA. So it's the BC SPCA here. So that is a charity organization that is in charge of enforcing animal animal cruelty laws here. Upon receiving that animal cruelty report, the SPCA contacted the farm and gave them a heads up that they will be investigating. And they basically waited for their consent and scheduled a time that would work for the farm. So they didn't end up actually investigating the farm for another, I think it was over a week upon their initial.
It was just under a week, but I think it was
just under a week.
I think it was going to be 1 week from the time that the SPCA phoned them.
Nevertheless, it was quite a chunk of time to allow the farmers to clean up their act, to do what they want to do before they're investigated. After that investigation, nothing happened. They never recommended charges for the farm, and they essentially said, well, we don't see code violations. So after Meet the Victims, an additional video was released. This time the video was hidden camera footage, little cameras that were recording inside the farm, recording the workers and the owners and operators doing their jobs. This is where criminal animal cruelty was really exposed, showing not just the workers, but the owners of the farm abusing animals criminally, not just legally. Of course, we know there's legal abuses that take place every single day, but illegal criminal abuses. So electric shocking pigs in the face, hitting and kicking pigs, ripping off the tails and testicles of piglets with no pain relief, stuff like this. And the SPCA again was contacted, this time by an anonymous activist.
Just before that, the SPCA went to the media saying, we need someone to step forward we need the person who took this footage to come here and identify themselves so that we can recommend charges. They went to the media asking for someone, and then it happened.
Yes, sorry. So this footage broke the news, like it was out there into the world. The SPCA said, okay, we do recognize that there's criminal abuse here, and we could recommend charges if we could authenticate the footage, if we knew who actually took this footage and someone who could speak to that. So an activist stepped forward and said, hey, I'll take responsibility for this. This was under a confidentiality agreement. So this activist had a confidentiality agreement with the SPCA, and the SPCA broke that confidentiality agreement and went straight to the police and handed over that person's information. Not only that, they did not recommend charges for the farm. So it's pretty astounding. And later on in our pretrial hearings, our lawyers argued abusive process by the BC SPCA by handing over, by breaching that confidentiality agreement and handing over that activist information. And subsequently, Jeff's case was dropped. So it's now come out that Jeff, the fourth person who's not on this call, was the activist who stepped forward to the SPCA. So although the courts have not given an official statement as to why they dropped Jeff's case, it was after our lawyers argued this misconduct. So it's what makes the most sense. But yeah, that's why Jeff's not here and why he's a free man.
What we need to stress is that the BCSPCA, it's not necessarily the same everywhere, but the BCSPCA is a charity that has become basically the official law enforcement for animal cruelty here, because there's no government agency really that looks at this. So they have a charity looking at it. So when it comes to animal cruelty investigations, they're basically the police. So they took someone's information saying they will protect their identity as much as they can, so that they can look at the animal cruelty. And then, it's like the police, just turning around and someone who's helping them investigate a crime, and instead they get this person charged, someone who's helping them. So that's the level of misconduct. It's really, really bad what they did. The SPCA didn't recommend charges, and yes, they turned Jeff to the police, and they went to the media saying that they couldn't recommend charges because the footage was taken illegally, so they wouldn't be able to do it. How did you come to this decision? Who made the decision? Who was it? And they won't answer any of those questions. The BCSPCA won't answer those questions, and the government won't answer those questions. So right now, all we have is the BCSPCA telling the media, we couldn't do it because of where the footage came from, and there's no way to verify that information. So that's another thing.
Also, if you already knew that the footage was taken illegally and you wouldn't be able to use the footage because it was taken illegally, then why go to the media and stress that you need an activist to come forward to verify the footage so you can press charges, when in turn you're just going to turn that activist over to the police? It doesn't make any sense.
One of my friends asked me today, you're going to talk to these people, you're going to hear their story and release it on your YouTube, but why are you doing this? Because we are doing so many animal activism in Turkey as well, all over the world. This is pig farm, hog farm in Canada today, maybe cattle farm in Turkey, but it doesn't matter which animal is this. There is some illegal stuff going on there and they have to make some explanation. Even if we have the proof to tell the media and the people, in some way they drop the charges against these abusers. That's an example for all the countries. So what is going to happen from 27th of June to end of July? How many trials are you going to have? Do you know this? What is the process that you're expecting or foreseeing in the future?
Well, we're going to be in trial Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. until 4 o'clock every single day except for July 1st. What to expect in trial? I don't think really any of us really know, as opposed to, aside from having people on the stand, questioning people on the stand. We'll probably be making a statement. We'll probably be examined. I don't know. What do you guys think of what's going to happen at trial?
Well, the farmers are definitely going to take the stand and they will be cross-examined by our lawyers. So that to me is one of the most exciting things. A lot of police are going to take the stand. We are definitely at least I think I'm testifying, if not all three of us, are going to testify, and our trial is by jury. So that is what makes our trial a lot different than a lot of animal rights cases, is because usually it's just by judge. But ours is going to, there's going to be 12 jury members there who are going to decide our fate. We are going to be discussing the animals a lot. We are going to bring experts and to discuss the legal cruelties, the illegal cruelties of animal farming. It's going to be really, really powerful. And of course, we're there to defend ourselves, but most importantly, this is about the animals. And we are definitely going to use this opportunity in whatever way we can to educate the public, to raise awareness, to get media attention. As you said, like, this isn't just about Canada or Turkey or anywhere else. This is a global movement of people who are fighting for animals and their rights and their liberation. And it takes cases like these all over the world in order to shift that dial.
You said we're there to defend ourselves, and we are there to talk about the animals while we're there, of course, but they're so connected. It's everything about our defense is connected to the animals. We have some good arguments. I'm going to say the evidence doesn't meet the threshold for the charges, and there's several reasons for that. But among the reasons is that what was happening to the animals. All we did was to show what happens to the animals. I guess I can say that for sure. I guess we'll just continue to repeat that statement in court. And I hope that once you understand the details of everything that got to the point for us to show this footage of the animals, that you'll, one, recognize that what was happening with the animals is awful, and two, that we, by showing this, made the world a slightly better place by exposing what these industries do.
And I think it's probably important to note that there's no other way of exposing the realities that these farmed animals face. The BC SPCA, as we said, is the only investigative enforcement body for animals, especially farmed animals here. And they can only recommend charges against a farm if they have, and they can only investigate if they have proof that abuse is taking place. But they do not have the authority to just go on to a farm without a warrant. So, but they can only get a warrant if they have that evidence. But how will they ever get that evidence?
They had some evidence, and they asked for someone to step out, and they did. So in the end, it didn't work out either. So
it's a broken system, of course. I mean, this entire system, our entire society is against animals, and they're against activists.
They're always finding a way to get out, unfortunately. We can talk about it like hours and hours. We can make like thousands of videos about this. But I wanted to keep it simple, just as a beginning, people to know what is it. And because this is quite something different for Turkish media, as I said, I haven't heard before. So I will put down in the description to your social media profiles, your website, excelsior4.org. And you have a fundraising there against the charges, because your lawyers are trying to get a low-rated charges, I guess, instead of jail. Thank you so much for meeting me here. Thank you.
Thank you for waking up so early to talk to us. That's amazing.
That's not
and I hope no matter what, people around the world, a lot of them can't help so much with what we're doing, but take a look at what's there and see what you can do to help animals locally.
So thank you. We will talk.
Thank you.
And keep in contact, okay?
All right. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you, you too.